I never thought that I wouldn't have a life without chemo because I was told I'd need it for the rest of my life with the amount of metastatic tumors that I had and the type of breast cancer that I had. It was necessary for me to stay alive. I never questioned that. In July of 2005, when my fourth child was 7 months old, I was diagnosed with stage 4 HER2 positive breast cancer, which had spread to my spine. So I had 3 crushed vertebrae, and it was metastatic, which means that it had spread outside of my breast into my spine and into my lymph nodes. So I began treatment and continued that treatment for 18 years. After 18 years, I actually found Dr. Joe's work through a friend who started to do the meditations, and I saw that her life was changing. So I thought, it's time for me to meditate. It's time for me to learn how I had tried in the past. So I bought the progressive workshop online and started doing the meditations on my own. I hadn't gone to a retreat yet. I did the entire progressive workshop and did the meditations on my own and had a great experience. So I decided to go to the Paris progressive retreat, and that's when I had my first experience with the breath, where I actually felt some relief, and I felt that the bottom of me was being pulled out and separated. Can't really explain what was happening at the time, but I knew that it was something major and it felt really good. So I started, of course, to do the meditations every day, and in fact, I haven't missed a day. Since November 2022, I haven't missed a day meditation, not once. And after that, I went to the Nashville retreat. I was still doing chemo every 3 weeks. I've been doing chemo for 18 years, so it's part of my life. I never thought that I wouldn't have a life without chemo because I was told that I'd need it for the rest of my life with the amount of metastatic tumors that I had and the type of breast cancer that I had. It was necessary for me to stay alive. I never questioned that. I went to Nashville, and when I got there, I got this overwhelming feeling that my treatment wasn't aligned with me. And this was a huge revelation for me because in 18 years, I had never once ever questioned not having that medicine. I had associated that medicine with life. So it wasn't a question. And by the way, I never had side effects with this medicine. I had decided a long time ago that I was not going to have side effects, and I did not. At the beginning of the retreat, it was clear in my mind, I was selected to be a Healy, and it was clear in my mind that I was going to be healed to stop the medicine. But I had a fear of how was I going to announce this to my oncologist, because after 18 years seeing the same doctor, who I do respect, I was fearful to announce to him that I no longer needed this medicine. But I said it'll work out. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it'll work out. So as the event progressed, we learned more about the breath. People went up on stage and actually showed us how to do it. And I made a clear intent that I was going to do it. So I put my hands on my legs and I did the breath. And the best way I can describe it is that my my first energy center, came up and somehow took the third, and they all seemed to be pushed up into my pineal gland, and I had this immense relief. I was one of those people that you hear screaming and kind of hanging off the side of their chair. That was me. But I didn't care because there was such an immense relief. It's like somebody had peeled off layers of a traumatic childhood, of raising kids on my own, of my abusive past. It just sort of disappeared. And it became clear to me that it was finished, that it was over. After that, it took me a few days actually to get back my head on straight. And there was a walking meditation that we did. And at the end of that walking meditation, I remember thinking that the person that really started the walk was not the person that ended the walk. And I saw a clear distinction between who I was and who I am now. And I understood the reason why I had that feeling to stop my medicine is because the person that was sick, the person that created that disease, that dis-ease, no longer exists. That the body that I had then, and I still continue to have today, is a different body than the one that had created the breast cancer. And it was such a tremendous relief to know that I was free. Not only free from my own thoughts, but a program that made me think that I needed that medicine to survive. So 3 days after the Nashville event, I actually had an appointment with my oncologist. And when I went to see him, it's like seeing an old friend because I've known him for so long. After some chit chat, he said to me, "Why are you here?" I said, "What do you mean? You gave me an appointment. I'm here to see you." He goes, "It's really weird. Usually I give you an appointment every 6 months, but the last time you came, I gave it to you in 3 months." He goes, "That's strange." And then he looked me straight in the eye and he said, "This summer, there's a few conferences I have to go to, and at the end of the summer, you're going to stop your treatments." I had this relief, yes, internally that said, but then I also had this alignment that said, I created that. I didn't even have to ask to stop my chemo. He offered it to me. So following September, I actually went to Marco Island retreat and I was a Healy again. And I knew in my mind that that was it. I had my last chemo in August of 23, and I knew that was it. And my intent for that Marco Island retreat was to stop chemo. And I've never had chemo since. Now, what's interesting about this is that when I was very sick, couldn't walk because my spine has 3 vertebrae that were crushed, and I was very panicking because I had 4 children. How was I going to take care of my children like this, and how was I going to survive? And my oncologist, in my panic, I said to him, I was very upset, and I was kind of uncontrollable. You couldn't console me. And he said, "Listen, stop. You're going to see me retire." So about a month ago, I haven't seen him since last summer, he called me and he said, "Would you like to see me one last time before I retire?" So mid-June, I went to see him. I brought him a bottle of champagne and a card that thanked him for all of the things that he had done and helped me to survive all of this. And for me, it was like the closure of a chapter of a book of my file, because I saw him retire. And not only did I see him retire, I feel new. I feel the fear that I always had. So when you have cancer, you live with fear for a long time. You have a higher rate of getting another cancer. So you're always in this fear, and that fear is gone because I know that that person doesn't exist. I have a new body, I have a new brain, and my heart is coherent. I don't know what else to say than that. Regardless of your past, regardless of where you think you've been and even where you think you're going, for me, what I realized enabled me to overcome a syndrome of abuse my entire life was the ability to live in the present moment. And I didn't know at the time that that's what I was doing, but the saying, one day at a time is really that. I had some dark days, and that feeling of one day at a time, today I'm doing good, allows you to get to tomorrow. And when the light is a bit brighter, you start to realize that we are powerful, we are divine. There's something more. I am more than my physical body. And to figure that out and to own that is a gift. So never give up. That's my message. Just don't give up. Keep going. There's always hope.